Today, I'm going to be giving you my list for the top 10 NFL teams to rebuild in Madden 26 franchise. There's going to be some teams that have a couple of really good pieces on offense, a couple of really good pieces on defense, some that have nothing at all, some that maybe have a little bit better of a quarterback than you would expect. There's a little bit of everything for everyone, I think. And of course, if you end up enjoying this video, maybe leave a like, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notifications, all that crap. Follow me on Twitter at Jeromepkr, and then the biggest thing, let me know which team you guys are going to be for Madden 26. And without any further ado, number 10 in our top 10 is going to be the Atlanta Falcons. Now, this is a team that does have some playmakers, especially on the offensive side of the ball. You can see Bijan Robinson, Drake London. Of course, even though he's a lower overall now, Kyle Pitts with that size and speed is still going to be a very big contributor for your team, and their offensive line isn't terrible. However, the big thing is you're going to be starting, if I can find him. No, we're not starting Kirk Cousins. And there he is. I actually had to search his name. A 25-year-old normal dev quarterback, I imagine, in Michael Penix. 74 overall at 25 years old, normal. His ceiling could be looking at an 84, 85, unless you absolutely go crazy, maybe winning an MVP, best QB, that kind of stuff. So you do have that quarterback need, which is a big, kind of trend with most of these, if not all of these teams, being on the lower side of the QB position. The big thing is, though, their defense. Obviously, we've known for a while that, at least in Madden specifically, their defense needs some work. Of course, Bates and AJ Terrell are very good. Caden Ellis, though, older guy that's going to regress, definitely not going to progress. Yamada obviously needs to develop. The thing is, though, they did have at least, maybe we'll see what happens in real life, in Madden, a very good edge year, right? They do have the lack of the first-round pick going on as well. That's something to note. But Jalen Walker with James Pierce, both those guys at least going to be star, I imagine. Definitely developable. But obviously DTs are a problem. All the linebackers. You need another corner. You might need another safety. Offensively, who knows what happens at QB. But, of course, there is still a lot of good on this team. So that's why they're at number 10 rather than, being off the list at all. Because this is one of those teams that's like, okay, they do have some players. Maybe they're not the hardest to rebuild, but still will be a lot of fun and do still need a little bit of work. Now for our number 9 team, we have the New York Jets. This is a team that is obviously kind of the opposite of what we just looked at, which is a defense-heavy team, right? You have an amazing corner in Sauce Gardner, amazing defensive tackle in Quentin Williams. You, of course, still have a couple of other good defenders like Quincy Williams himself, Andre Cisco, the new addition. Who else you have? You have a couple edge rushers, some of them a little bit on the older side. Of course, Jermaine Johnson, because he missed the year, is a little bit of a lower overall. The big thing that kind of makes this team not the most appeasing to me is that you already have a really good running back, similar to the Falcons, and you have a pretty damn good wide receiver with Garrett Wilson, similar to the Falcons. But, of course, quarterback, you're going to be starting, I would assume, Justin Fields, who is now, I think, 26 years old at 74 overall. You thought it was going to be hard with Penix. It's going to be even harder with Fields. They do, on paper, actually have a couple offensive linemen. I highly doubt Fashanu is going to be a superstar this year. Last year, we abused the hell out of that in a fantasy draft. Always draft him because he was superstar. I don't think he will be. Membu maybe will be, though. But if they are both superstar, that is going to make, especially if you move Membu, well, I guess he actually is at right tackle. You put on both at tackles. Your tackle position pretty good. Joe Tippmann's pretty solid. And then, of course, AVT's good. But this is a team that definitely needs a little more work than the Falcons. Just at some of those positions that are fun to develop, like wide receiver, tight end, I suppose. Actually, do they? Yeah, Mason Taylor, I suppose. He's not that great, but he's good enough. There's definitely some weaknesses on this team, especially arguably at quarterback. We'll see, maybe you can develop Justin Fields, and if, it's not a weakness to you, you have a really fun, fast quarterback. So this is a team number 9 on our list, as I just think they have a little bit more to develop, and even if they do have some guys that you look at as, potential long-term guys, like, of course, Membu and potentially Jermaine Johnson and whatnot, they are still rather low overall now, so it's still going to take a couple of years to get them into that quote-unquote elite status. And now for our number 8 team, the team that I am actually really considering to be my number 1 team to actually use for Madden 26 is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, this is a team that obviously isn't the worst, right? You have a really good edge rusher in Josh Hines-Allen, and then on the other side, Trayvon Walker's not bad at 78, but you can see it does drop very quickly. The big thing for this team, for me, is not just that they do have stuff to work on, but that the Jaguars have been bad for so long that I think they're going to turn it around soon. This might be one of those last kind of years, similar to the Lions, that you'll get to use this team before they're just good every single year going forward. They've been kind of killing in the draft, and they have a lot of young players that can develop. So this is maybe the last year you're going to get with the Jaguars, in my opinion, where they're not one of the worst teams in the league performing-wise. But obviously, even for right now, they still have a lot of good talent like Brian Thomas, Travis Hunter. Depends on where you're going to play him. You're going to play him at both spots. It's crazy, though, because they kind of went a little overboard this year. I believe he has an ability that allows him to not lose any wear and tear or fatigue playing at different positions, if I'm not mistaken. So realistically, I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to play Travis Hunter in-game at wide receiver and cornerback every single snap, which I would highly doubt that'll happen in real life, at least after a couple of years in the league. It probably won't, but I highly doubt it's going to happen, but that could make for a really fun situation. Personally, I don't even like that Travis Hunter's here. I think he does make the team just so much more better. I really wanted to be the Jaguars without Travis Hunter, but of course with him, it makes it a little easier. It is more fun, to be fair, but obviously you have some crazy weapons in Brian Thomas Jr., who's a 97 speed with all that height, and of course Tyson Campbell, he is getting older, so this is a guy that, maybe you need to move on from. So some of the core guys that you're expecting to be those guys, maybe move on from. ETN isn't locked in place, but I probably would be, using him as my starter. And then, of course, the big thing is this is one of Trevor Lawrence's worst ratings in recent years. Of course, last year, by the end of the year, he did go down pretty far, but 75 overall for a 24, 25-year-old now, I think. There is still a lot of room to work. Tootin could be your starting running back. There is still a lot of room to work with here, especially in the offensive line. This is my number 18 because they do have some really good cornerstone young guys, but they are still missing a lot of positions, especially, in my opinion, in the trenches, DTs, O-line, like we said, and then DBs would not hurt either. For our 7th ranked team, we have the Arizona Cardinals, a team that does have a couple of cornerstone pieces that are young, like Trey McBride. Baker's not young, but you're probably getting at least a couple more years out of him. Obviously, Paris Johnson. The big thing, though, of course, is you do have a couple of skill positions you can develop. Marvin Harrison Jr., definitely wide receiver 1. Whereas Trey Benson, 93 speed, hasn't really got much done in real life, but in game is still a very good player, of course. And then obviously you do have Kyler Murray as a 79 overall. This is where you're thinking, okay, while he's not bad in real life and he's absolutely getting let down by the players around him, do you move on from him because of that overall, because of that age? I think you might. You definitely look at quarterback in the draft. Of course, some of the other guys, James Conner's their 3rd highest rated player. He's gone within a year or two, right? Josh Sweat, I know they just got him, but his ceiling's probably 88 overall. So this is a team that obviously has some older players. Their drafts haven't necessarily panned out just yet, and they obviously have a lot of weaknesses, but they're still kind of this low on my list because they do have guys you can develop like B.J. Ojulari, Max Melton, where is he? Browning, sort of. Will Johnson. They've got low overalls, but a lot of them are young. So their high overalls are old, but their low overalls are developable and young. So this is a pretty fun team, I think, and it just really kind of depends on what you're going to do with Kyler Murray. Personally, I'd probably use him the first year. If you play well, maybe you keep him around. If you're not so great, like you're probably not going to be with this team, you look in the draft probably, right? But that is our number 17. Now for our number 16, believe it or not, the Giants are kind of low, right? Like they're usually a top 3, top 5 team every Madden, but now they are outside of the top 5 because I think they've gotten pretty young. I think they're pretty good, right? Dexter Lawrence, long-term youth piece. Andrew Thomas, Neighbors, maybe not Okereke, Brian Burns, Javon Holland, Abdul Carter, Drew Phillips, Kayvon Thibodeau, who you maybe trade for some value, Newbin. There's some youth on this team, and then while this is a team that has one of the lowest rated quarterbacks in the league, assuming you're going to start Dart because you want that youth, not sure if he's going to be star or not, 68 overall, very low, but you can use him, right? So this is one of those teams that has a quarterback you can develop, but they are so low of an overall, it's basically like they don't have one. Of course, Scadaboo, super slow, but fun. Theo, fast, getting up there already, 24 years old, I believe, as a normal dev, I would imagine. But yeah, they have some weaknesses, but they do also have a couple of cornerstones. I think edge is one of the toughest positions to draft and develop, which is why this team's at 6, because they have their edge set, right? They have their whole D-line, honestly. Yeah, you can maybe use another defensive tackle, but they pretty much have their front 4, which is a really hard position to develop. Wide receiver 1 is their running back, though. Super fun position to develop. They kind of need a new one, right? Like Tracy's 25, I think, already. Is he your guy? Maybe. Scattaboo, of course, he's going to be fun. You're going to try to develop him. You're going to fail miserably, I'm sorry to say, but you probably will. 85 speed is really low. A couple of corners that have some speed, but this is a pretty good team that just has a little too much star power with guys like Lawrence, Thomas, Neighbors, calling a tackle, a star power, and Brian Burns to be higher, but I still think they're a fun rebuild team in our top 10. For our honorable mentions, before we actually get into the top 5, sorry for all the yap, it's going to be the LA Rams. This is a team that has drafted pretty well lately. They've been getting some youthful players like Nakua, Verse, Kobe Turner, Braden Fisk, some really youthful good players lately. They've kind of moved them up the list of, being a contender. And then obviously you still have Devontae Adams and Stafford. If you remove Stafford from this conversation, you're arguing that this is one of the top 10s. But with Stafford being 88 overall, if he doesn't straight up retire, you're getting 2 years out of him. And I think 2 years with a good quarterback, a very good quarterback, I think it just takes you out of that list, in my opinion. And then for another one, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that has a couple of high overalls that are going to regress and potentially retire soon, like Cameron Hayward, Jalen Ramsey, sort of, obviously Darius Slay, but I just think they have a little bit too much talent, right? Like TJ Watt's there for 5+ years, super good. Maybe even do get 5 years out of Ramsey. Obviously, Highsmith is set, Metcalf is set, Freiermuth, Zach Frazier, Queen, Joey Porter. There's some pretty damn good players on this team that are going to be there for a long time. The big reason why you would want to use this team, of course, is one, you get to use Rodgers for a year, which is kind of cool, but more importantly, they need a quarterback, right? So they're just outside the top 10, but an honorable mention nonetheless. Then for our final of the 3 honorable mentions, we have the Miami Dolphins. The reason why this team doesn't make the list is because, of course, they do have some top-end talent, right? Like Tyreek Hill, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Jalen Waddle, A-Chain, Waller's 82 overall. It's kind of cool to see. 88 overall speed. Jalen Phillips, Tua. These are the big ones, Tyreek and Tua. The reason why I put these guys on the list, though, is there's arguments to be made that you don't want to use Tua. The head injuries. You make the storyline that the head injuries just caught up with him. The doctors they don't feel comfortable going forward. He's made enough money. He's going to retire. Tyreek Hill, with no quarterback, demands a trade. That is a team I'd like to rebuild. But if you're not like that, you don't like to do the storylines, you like to play as the team base, this team is a little too good, in my opinion, at that point. The receivers, the offense is just going to be too good, I think, to be stopped. And that's why they're not in our top 10. Back to our actual top 10, though. Number 5 is the Carolina Panthers, a team that has been trending in the right direction lately. Of course, Bryce Young showed a couple of flashes of, okay, maybe if you build the team around him a little bit, maybe this guy can still be your quarterback. But of course, they are still at the lower end, right? Their overalls are kind of lower, and then some of their best players are on the older side, right? You look at their guards, Damian Lewis and Robert Hunt. Maybe they're not old in real life, technically, at least Robert Hunt, but they're not going to be progressing in Madden either. So these are guys that are 83, 84, or 82. Maybe they get to 84, 83, and then after that, when the season's over, their regression drops them down a couple of overalls, right? And then obviously Thielen, Dowdle, Jansen, who's a long snapper in their top 15, mind you, Wanham, Wharton. These guys are not going to develop, but you still do have the cornerstones, right? Like Jonathan Brooks, you can easily develop. Tedderone McMillan, the rookie, obviously you can develop. J.C. Horn, Derek Brown, maybe Chuba Hubbard still, so you do have some running back edge there. And obviously Bryce Young, you're going to try to develop, but who knows? He's a little bit on the older side now, might be normal dev. Ceiling might be kind of limited. This is a team that I think is a lot of fun and easily in my top 3 if I decide to pivot. Carolina Panthers, number 5. Then number 4 comes our Madden 25 main franchise team, which is the New England Patriots. They do have a couple of decent players, like Stephon Diggs is now their wide receiver 1, if you will, so you can definitely use him for a couple more years. Don't actually know what his dev is, by the way. It is seemingly going to be star or less, so maybe you only get a year out of him, but of course, you have a couple of okay players. Which team doesn't, right? Christian Gonzalez, Diggs for a year, Peppers, Carlton Davis. Those guys are, Milton Williams. Those guys are good for right now. But then you look at the opposite side of that, right? Diggs going to regress. Peppers going to regress. Milton Williams not too far from regression. Onwenu, Hunter Henry, Robert Spillane, Morgan Moses, obviously. A lot of these guys going to regress, and their ceilings are a little limited. Will Campbell, if he's a superstar dev, which we can actually maybe check right now, it doesn't actually show. I seen Travis Hunter is, but maybe he's the only guy they're going to show the dev for because, they have to prove that there's a way to play him at both positions. But the reason why this team isn't in the top 3 is because of Drake May. He's a 78 overall now for this year's game. Super fast. We felt that last year using him. We got him to a really good overall very quickly. He's a solid-looking player, and he definitely elevates this team a lot in the game of Madden. We'll see what happens in real life, but this is our number 4 team with a lot of holes, but at the same time, quarterback seemingly is set in stone. And at the number 3 spot, we almost complete the entire division in our top 5. We will not be, though. Very close to it, but not going to be. Buccaneers just a little too good to even make the honorable mentions list. But the New Orleans Saints, of course, the cap hell roster, the team that maybe has the worst quarterback situation in the league. Maybe not even a maybe at this point. But this is a team that, of course, is also on the older side, right? Demario Davis, I don't know how he's still in the league. Alvin Kamara, Granderson's not going to develop. Godshaw's not going to develop. Blackman probably not even going to develop himself. Brandon Cook's obviously not. Cameron Jordan's regressed anyways, but not going to progress himself. A lot of openings to replace on this team. You can get a new running back if you want. Wide receiver, there's at least one spot there. Tight end, there's a spot open. O-line, most of the offensive line you can replace. D-line, most of the D-line you can replace. Linebacker, cornerback, safety. This is a team that maybe has the most you can develop. And because of the cap situations, they are looking tough. But you do still have Chris Olave, Eric McCoy, who's like a cornerstone piece. And I don't know what it is, but a lot of people just don't have a lot of fun with the Saints. I'm not really sure why. But that's why they're at number 3 and not even a little bit higher. They do have a couple of developable pieces, which also helps their case. But yeah, number 3, the New Orleans Saints. I think this is a team that you would absolutely have a long time of fun with because they're just going to need several years to get going. Now we have the Raiders at number 2. I would argue, at least in a Madden standpoint, because of guys like Max Crosby, because of guys like Brock Bowers, because of guys like even Ashton Genty now, and then of course you have Geno Smith, that this is a better team than the Saints. However, with this team, you are not only in the AFC, but you're in one of the toughest divisions in the entire league. You have the Chiefs twice a year, the Chargers twice a year. That is a problem. That is a massive problem. And hell, you have the Broncos. They're good now. So this is the team with the toughest division, which is why they're at number 2. Because I actually think because of some of these playmakers, they actually are not bad, especially in year 1. Max Crosby's a long-term, super good player that's going to make defense at least tolerable, right? Brock Bowers, he's going to be unguardable. He's going to put up 1,000 yards for you every single season. He's not injured, which I don't see why he would be. Colton Miller's a good left tackle. Genty's the set running back. Geno's a pretty damn good quarterback for year 1. They've got an okay offensive line, and their defense is lacking, right? There's definitely some low overalls on the defensive side. That's where you're going to be spending most of your rebuild, I think, outside of going QB. But that division, you are going to be the worst team in that division for the first 2 seasons minimum, no matter how well you draft, no matter how well you trade, no matter how free agency goes for you. And that's why they're number 2, even if their team, especially with some of these cornerstones like we mentioned, probably aren't even in the bottom 3 for rosters. And now for our number 1 team to rebuild, I think a lot of people would have saw this coming, the Tennessee Titans. Now this team, again, just like every other team, they have a couple of good players, right? Jeffrey Simmons, L'Jarius Sneed, Tavondre Sweat. That's it. Okay. Obviously, you have a couple other players like Latham, solid. Hooker's good. McCreary's usable for sure. Skaronski. They've got an okay line, especially in Madden. And then, of course, you have Cam Ward, who you can develop. But yes, this is a team that's lackluster, right? The big position that I love to develop every year in Madden is wide receiver and running back. And I think, especially a wide receiver, you can argue you can replace everybody. I know Tyjae Spears isn't a bad player, but at 88 speed, I think he's 24 already. I think, maybe even 25. You could definitely replace him. I don't think you would be like, oh, well, this is an unrealistic move. They would never replace this guy. I think you'd easily keep Tyjae Spears as your number 2. So draft a new running back if you want. So that is 2-3 wide receivers, a new tight end, a new running back on the offensive side of the ball. That is a lot of new identity that you can work with going into, your rebuild. And then defensively, you need new edge, right? Edge is looking rough, unless I'm missing something. Edge is looking rough. DT is your only good front 4 position, in my opinion. Of course, Tavondre Sweat, if you're going to be playing that 3-4, having him at the nose tackle spot, your interior isn't terrible, but you still need a new edge. Linebacker is a concern. Corner, you've potentially got some development there, but L'Jarius Sneed, some injury concerns potentially. Safety, obviously you could upgrade. There's a lot to develop on this team, including Cam Ward, the quarterback. He's only a 72 overall. He's going to, at best, be star development trade. And even then, his ratings are pretty average, right? Like, he's not going to blaze past you with speed. His throw power is 91. His accuracies are low 80s. He's a pretty standard-looking quarterback. Like, he is a slow Geno Smith, which I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing in-game. But a fun guy to develop. He's 23 as well, so his XP might take a little while to get up there. But yeah, the Titans, I think they just have so much missing. You can maybe even argue the Saints and the Titans are swapped here, but I think the Titans as your number one rebuild team for Madden 26 is very fair and very fitting. But those are my top 10 teams to rebuild in Madden 26 franchise. But yeah, let me know what you thought of the list. Was there a team you're surprised to see in the top 10 or top 5 even? Is there a reorder you would do? Is there a team that shouldn't have been on this list? Or is there a team that should have been on the list that wasn't? Of course, our honorable mentions. I think that is fair honorable mentions. I don't think they were good enough, or I guess technically bad enough to make our top 10 here. And which team, again, are you going to choose? And which team would you like to see us choose? I'll probably end up having a poll soon just to see where everyone's interest is. I think personally, the list goes in order of what I want to do to what I don't want to do of the top 4. I would say Jaguars number 1, Giants number 2, Panthers number 3, and then I'm debating going back and running another Titans franchise, dude, at number 4, but I'm debating it. Maybe the Cardinals at 4. The top 3 is solidified. Those are the top 3 I for sure want to do, but since the YouTube polls do 4, I'll probably throw a 4th in there anyways. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Always a lot of fun with these ratings videos, so again, if you end up enjoying it, maybe leave a like, subscribe if you're new, follow me on Twitter, Jeromepkr, second channel, PK Plays, and not Madden content. And if there's anything more you would like to see with these rosters, these ratings on the website, let me know, and maybe that'll be another video we can do. Regardless, though, thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys come back for next video, but until next video, see